Will the House please come to order and members kindly take their seats? Good afternoon. Members, in this 1 p.m. block, we will take up one bill, which is House Bill 727, an act relating to sustainable data center deployment. We will then recess, and the plan is to come back at 3:30 to take up additional bills. Please keep an eye on your email as those bills come over from the Senate or ones that are now could be ready that we have here. So with that, member from Poultney, can you please offer us a motion to suspend our rules to take up for immediate consideration off the notice calendar, House Bill 727, which is an act relating to sustainable data center deployment.
Madam Speaker, I make a motion to suspend rules in order to take up off the notice calendar for immediate consideration, H727.
The member from Poultney moves that we suspend our rules to take up House Bill 727 off the notice calendar for immediate consideration. Are you ready for the question? If so, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed, please say nay. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it, and you have suspended rules to take up House Bill 727 for immediate consideration. House Bill 727 is an act relating to sustainable data center deployment. The governor vetoed the bill and returned it to the House. The governor's veto message can be found in today's calendar. Pursuant to Chapter 2, Section 11 of the Vermont Constitution, the House will now reconsider the bill by voting on whether to pass it by overriding the veto. By the Constitution, overriding the veto requires 2/3 vote of members present, and this vote must be taken by roll call. The specific question the House will vote on is, shall the bill pass notwithstanding the governor's refusal to approve the bill? So just to confirm for members, a yes vote is a vote in favor of the bill and over to override the veto and pass the bill. A no vote is a vote against the bill in order to sustain the veto, so the bill does not pass. The question is debatable. After the conclusion of any debate, as required by the Constitution, the clerk will call the roll. The question is, shall the bill pass, notwithstanding the governor's refusal to approve the bill? Are you ready for the question? Member from Dover.
Madam Speaker, a brief reminder about this bill and why we took this bill up. Demand for electricity associated with large computing facilities is growing rapidly across our country. The ISO New England region forecasts regional electricity use increasing by about 11% over the next decade, and national forecasts project record electricity demand in 2026 and 2027, driven in part by data center and AI infrastructure growth. Electricity demand from data centers alone is projected to triple by 2030. A single 20 megawatt facility can use electricity roughly equivalent to the power consumption of 15 to 20,000 Vermont homes, and is around a 100,000 square foot building, which is roughly 1 to 2 football fields. A 100 megawatt data center would represent roughly 10% of Vermont's total peak electricity demand and would be equivalent to the power consumption of 75 to 100,000 homes. These facilities also require millions of gallons of water to cool them. Our committee's approach was to consider what would happen if we had a data center try to locate in the state of Vermont, and to walk around that and see where we were protected with our environmental protections and our energy rate protections, because these are creating tremendous pressure on electric rates across the country, and they have incredible environmental impacts. and to see if there were gaps that needed to be addressed. We spent a fair amount of time in the House walking around, brought a bill here to this body, which passed nearly unanimously by voice vote. The bill then went to the Senate where they made some significant improvements in terms of electric rates and reducing overall environmental impact. That bill passed the Senate by a vote of 26-3, I believe. Madam Speaker, the governor, in his veto override message, made several points that I want to talk about. One was that this is seemingly aimed at data centers. Madam Speaker, your committee worked diligently to actually narrow this to be specifically about data centers and not about just large energy users. We've included the definition of data centers in the bill. We also specifically put data centers into Act 250, which provides the most robust environmental considerations. And for data centers, that certainly seems extremely appropriate, given their high impact. In addition, the governor expressed a preference for the House's version with some modifications. Did not detail those modifications. Madam Speaker, speaking for myself and I believe for a lot of my colleagues, always ready to work and try to find compromise. When this bill came back from the Senate, it was brought to my attention specifically that there were problems, but that the administration would not be testifying. And we were forwarded one page of written testimony from the Senate. So there was not really an opportunity for us to work to find any consensus. And so, Madam Speaker, we actually found that there is risk associated with doing nothing. We do, in fact, have small data centers in the state of Vermont that are important for some of our facilities, our healthcare facilities, for running government. These are 1 megawatt or smaller. That's not what we're talking about here. And so, Madam Speaker, we do think that there's risk. We think this is an area of policy that we'll be coming back to. We are very clear and hearing from Vermonters about their extreme concerns around data centers being located here. And so for that reason, Madam Speaker, I will be voting yes to override, and I encourage my colleagues to do the same.
The question is, shall the bill pass, notwithstanding the governor's refusal to approve the bill? Member from Jericho.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. One of the things that the governor mentioned in his veto is that he wants to encourage job creation in Vermont. And it has been noted that data centers create temporary construction jobs, which we don't have enough of the people to do those jobs today to build the things that we already need, like housing in this state, and not long-term high-tech jobs, very few of those. So I just wanted to point that out as well. Thank you.
The question is, shall the bill pass, notwithstanding the governor's refusal to approve the bill? Member from Manchester.
Madam Speaker, across the country, Americans are rising up and fighting the rapid proliferation of massive data centers. Fueled by the rise of cloud computing and artificial intelligence, with a commensurate need for more and more and more computing power, a typical data center is about as big as 2 football fields. And some of the so-called hyperscale data centers are 1 million square feet. That is 17 football fields. Data centers consume significant amounts of power and they can drive up the cost of electricity for ratepayers. They can also consume significant amounts of water for cooling, and they can damage the environment in other ways through air pollution, through noise pollution, or through PFAS discharge. The legislature is sometimes accused of kicking the can down the road. Not this time. In H727, we have taken a bold, proactive approach. We have created a robust regulatory framework to put clear and strict parameters around any prospective data center of 20 megawatts or greater. That's about the size of a typical big box store, which means we need to get ahead of this and not wait. H727 ensures that any data center would go through the full Act 250 review and permitting process, no matter where it's located. And among other things, as a reminder, these criteria ensure a rigorous analysis of impacts on air and water quality, water supplies, waste disposal, flood hazards, soil stability, habitat protection, transportation networks, local schools and services, municipal expenses, historic resources, aesthetics, primary agricultural soils, forest fragmentation, energy conservation, impacts of growth, and consistency with municipal and regional plans. H727 also requires that any data center sign a contract with the utility. This large load contract, which must be approved and reviewed by the Public Utility Commission, guarantees that electric ratepayers will not be harmed and must benefit. It maximizes the construction of renewable power on site, and it includes a payment that the utility will use to help its customers reduce the use of harmful, polluting fossil fuels and save money on their electric bills. Madam Speaker, this is a strong bill. It is an important bill. And more than any other issue this year, I've heard from Vermonters who are very worried about the possibility that a large data center might set its sights on Vermont and arrive here without rigorous review. H727 ensures that strict and rigorous review. It protects ratepayers, it protects our communities, and it protects our land, air, and water. We cannot let this veto stand. And I strongly urge my colleagues to join me today in voting yes to override the governor's veto.
The question is, shall the bill pass notwithstanding the governor's refusal to approve the bill? Member from Burlington.
Madam Speaker, I'm going to just speak briefly in support of overriding this veto. I want to talk in more general terms about the flawed narrative in the governor's message. Flawed narrative sort of always gets my attention. In that statement, in his veto statement, he writes that this bill, and I'm going to quote here, that the bill's broader message extends far beyond data centers. That's the end of the quote. And respectfully, I think that's just exactly backwards. This bill is not about sending a message. That's not what this bill does. This bill is about data centers. That's it. That's all. And when we're talking about facilities whose business model depends upon the collection of, the storing of, the analyzing, and the transmitting of enormous amounts of information, I don't think that this is a moment to treat privacy concerns as secondary to the economic concerns, economic development concerns. We can and we should absolutely support economic growth. We can and we should absolutely support innovation. And we can and we should absolutely support good paying jobs. And, not but, and we can still ask, it is our job to still ask reasonable questions about how these facilities affect our communities, our infrastructure, and our energy use, and the privacy interests of all Vermonters. Please let us not get stuck one last time into these zero-sum mindsets that show up in these moments, meaning because we're doing this, it means we're not doing this. That's just not the case here. We're talking about data centers. These are not anti-business questions. These are simply governance questions, which is what we are asked to do. The governor argues that we already have enough regulatory authority. Reasonable people can disagree, and I do. This bill, though, however, reflects the legislature's judgment, our judgment. Came out of committee unanimously. As the member from Dover already explained, came out of this body almost unanimously by voice, unanimously out of committee in the other chamber, overwhelmingly supported by a roll call in the other chamber. It is our judgment, which we have already judged, I guess, that additional guardrails are warranted in this scenario. They were warranted when we initially passed H727, and they remain warranted on this question. For me, the question is incredibly straightforward. When the potential consequences involve the collection, storage, and use of vast amounts of information, privacy information, I would rather have those guardrails in place before a problem emerges than wish we had than wish we would have acted after those problems do arise. So for that reason, I will be voting yes to override this veto. I hope others will join me.
The question is, shall the bill pass, notwithstanding the governor's refusal to approve the bill? Member from Barrytown.
Madam Speaker, I am also a member of an Act 250 Environmental Commission. I am well aware of how difficult it is to develop here in the state of Vermont. I also believe that Act 250 is an adequate regulatory information to make sure that we protect our environment at the same time allowing development to occur. With the local input of a major application on an Act 250, it will not be done easily. We couldn't get an Amazon distribution facility developed here in the state. No large data center is going to come to the state of Vermont. I believe that Act 250 is adequate, and I will vote to sustain the governor's veto.
The question is, shall the bill pass, notwithstanding the governor's refusal to approve the bill? Are you ready for the question? Member from St. Johnsbury.
Madam Speaker, as previous speakers have noted, concerns about the impact of data centers are all over the news, with dramatic upward pressure on electric rates, worries about high volume water usage, complaints about noise from dozens or hundreds of cooling fans, and resentment that these large loads are being dropped on state and local governments unequipped to cope with the plans of trillion-dollar tech companies. H727 equips Vermont to deal with this specific potential development. I think nearly all members have heard from constituents about this issue. I know I have. The federal administration is not looking out for us. It celebrates support from the captains of tech. Think of who ran Doge and who shows up at White House photo ops. As the bill presenter has detailed, House Energy and Digital Infrastructure spent weeks taking testimony, extensive testimony, to craft this bill. The bill specifically focuses on data centers. The bill is entitled the Vermont Sustainable Data Centers Act. The purpose is listed as establishing a regulatory framework that ensures responsible growth of an emerging industry that financially benefits, in a manner that financially benefits electric payers and protects them from additional costs, etc. The term data center is referenced throughout the bill. The bill does not ban data centers. It is not a moratorium. It addresses electric rates, holding Vermont ratepayers harmless. It addresses water usage. It adds data center to the list of project types that Act 250 specifically applies to, so that the physical siting of these facilities goes through full Act 250 permitting guaranteed. It sets out guardrails that the Public Utility Commission will follow to control impacts on the grid. And those impacts could be positive under the right circumstances, where a data center owner is willing and able to flexibly moderate the electric load. As has been noted, the bill passed your House Energy and Digital Infrastructure Committee unanimously. It passed the House on a near unanimous voice vote. It passed the Senate 26-3. The legislature approves of this bill. Vermonters want this bill. I will vote yes to sustain the bill and override the governor's veto.
The question is, shall the bill pass, notwithstanding the governor's refusal to approve the bill? Are you ready for the question? Member from Williston.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Just a couple of thoughts. One is that we have already missed the opportunity, several opportunities, to have any hope of getting ahead of technological advancements and have any real meaningful preemptive impact on the negative effects of some technologies. And I'm thinking especially about, pretty much anything related to social media. Currently, AI, we're falling behind on regulating AI. We're our regulations are woefully inadequate when it comes to a lot of technology. And the people who pay the biggest price or bear a disproportionate amount of the harm for our inaction, our failure to act, really is our kids, young people. And I was at an event just a few weeks ago at which high school students were given the opportunity to ask questions of our Congresswoman. And, there were some pretty typical questions, or maybe questions that one would expect about what is it like to work in Washington and things like that. And another student stood up and said, I'm really worried about our democracy. How do we protect our democracy? And then another student stood up and said, I'm really worried about data centers and data centers in Vermont. Do you know what's going on with data centers in Vermont? And it was just a moment in which I realized, there's an obvious connection between those two questions in my mind. The detrimental effects of social media on our democracy and ability to have civil discourse. And as we let regulation opportunities slip away, the way that we would if we failed to override this governor's veto, again, it's the harm of our inaction or our ill-advised action really falls on our kids. And I see 727 as part of the efforts we need to be making to, whenever possible, actually get ahead of or keep pace with technology. And we have an opportunity to do that here. If I may slightly respectfully disagree with the member from Burlington and say if there is a larger message here, as the governor implied or said in his veto message, the larger message is that we're watching, we're paying attention, and we understand the need to regulate these types of advancements in technology while leaving space for innovation, encouraging innovation, being mindful of economic development, but watching for impacts on our environment and our kids. This bill helps do both of those things, and I urge the members to vote yes.
The question is, shall the bill pass, notwithstanding the governor's refusal to approve the bill? Are you ready for the question? Member from Dover.
Madam Speaker, I just want to make one more point, and that is we regularly discuss the appropriateness of being the first state to do something, or being one of the first states to do something. And I think in this instance, we're one of the last states that has not really had to deal with this. And we have a lot of lessons from across the country that have motivated us to act. And so thank you for allowing me to make that final point on that perspective, and I will be voting yes.
The question is, shall the bill pass, notwithstanding the governor's refusal to approve the bill? Are you ready for the question? If so, will the clerk please call the roll?
Arsenault of Williston.
2 minutes. Will the House please come to order? Will the House please come to order and members kindly take their seats? I would like to remind members that we are in the middle of a roll call vote. Members and guests are prohibited from using computers, phones, or any type of electronic device. Please refrain from the passing of notes and conversation during a roll call. And when the clerk calls your name, please answer in a loud and clear voice so the clerk can accurately record your votes. The question is, shall the bill pass, notwithstanding the governor's refusal to approve the bill? Will the clerk please continue to call the roll?
Austin of Colchester. Bailey of Hyde Park. Bartholomew of Heartland. Bartley of Fairfax. Rebecca of Winooski. Byron of Vergennes. Bishop of Colchester. Black of Essex. Bloomley of Burlington. Boslin of Westminster. Bosch of Clarendon. Booton of Berry City. Boyden of Cambridge. Brady of Williston. Brannigan of Georgia. Brigham of St. Albans Town. Brown of Richmond. Burdett of West Rutland. Burke of Brattleboro. Burkhardt of South Burlington. Burrows of West Windsor. Burdick Cabot. Campbell of St. Johnsbury. Canfield of Fairhaven. Karis Duncan of Whitingham. Casey of Montpelier. Casey of Hubbardton. Chapin of East Montpelier. Charlton of Chester. Christie of Hartford. Chena of Burlington. Coffin of Cavendish. Cole of Hartford. Conlon of Cornwall. Cooper of Pownell. Corcoran of Bennington. Critchlow of Colchester. Damar of Venusburg. Dickinson of St. Albans Town. Dobrovich of Williamstown. Dodge of Essex. Dolan of Essex Junction. Duncan of St. Johnsbury. Donahue of Northfield. Duke of Burlington. Durfee of Shaftesbury. Eastis of Guilford. Emmons of Springfield. Feltus of Linden. Galfetti of Berrytown. Garifano of Essex. Goldman of Rockingham. Goodnow of Brattleboro. Ghostland of Northfield. Granning of Jericho. Greer of Bennington. Gregoire of Fairfield. Hango of Berkshire. Harpel of Glover. Harvey of Castleton. Hedrick of Burlington. Higley of Lowell. Holcomb of Norwich. Cooper of Randolph. Houghton of Essex Junction. Howard of Rutland City. Howland of Rutland Town. Hoyt of Hartford. Hunter of Manchester. James of Manchester. Kosenska of Burke. Keyser of Rutland City. Kimball of Woodstock. Kleppner of Burlington. Kornheiser of Brattleboro. Krasnow, South Burlington. Krowinski of Burlington. Labor of Morgan. Lally of Shelburne. Lalone of South Burlington. Lamont of Morristown. LaRush of Franklin. Lipsky of Stowe. Logan of Burlington. Long of Newfane. Long of Milton. Leaders of Lincoln. Luno of St. Albans City. McGuire of Rutland City. Malay Pittsford. Marcotte of Coventry. Maslin of Thetford. McCann of Montpelier. McCoy of Pulteney. McGill of Bridport. Mickless of Milton. Mahaly of Calais. Minnie of South Burlington. Morganella Milton. Morgan Emma Milton. Morse of Springfield. Morrissey of Bennington. Morrow of Weston. Rowicki of Putney. Nelson of Derby. Nielsen of Brandon. Nigro of Bennington. North of Ferrisburg. Moyes of Wolcott. Nugent of South Burlington. O'Brien of Tunbridge. Odie of Burlington. Oliver of Sheldon. Olson of Starksboro. Page of Newport City. Parsons of Newberry. Pezzo of Colchester. Pincenot of Dorset. Pouch of Heinsberg. Powers of Waterford. Priestley of Bradford. Pritchard of Pollitt. Quimby of Linden. Rachelson of Burlington. Sackwitz of Randolph. Shy of Middlebury. Scully of Burlington. Sheldon of Middlebury. Sibylla of Dover. Susie of Berrytown. Southworth of Walden. Squirrel of Underhill. Steady of Milton. Stevens of Waterbury. Stone of Burlington. Sweeney of Shelburne. Taglavia Corinth. Taylor of Mendon. Tomlinson Winooski. Tory Moretown. Walker Swanton. Wassazaka Berry City. Waters Evans of Charlotte. Wells of Brownington. White of Waitsfield. White of Bethel. Winter of Ludlow. Wood of Waterbury. Yakavoni and Morristown. Bartholomew of Heartland. Boslin of Westminster. Christie of Hartford. Dodge of Essex. Gregoire of Fairfield. Hooper of Randolph. Howard of Rutland City. Lipsky of Stowe. McGuire of Rutland City. Nigro of Bennington. O'Brien of Tunbridge. Parsons of Newberry. Scully of Burlington. Tory Moretown. And Winter of Ludlow.
For purpose of explanation, member from Hartford.
Madam Speaker, many commercial developments do not trigger Act 250 jurisdiction. By doing nothing and sustaining the governor's veto, we put the next generation in harm's way. I greatly respected the collaborative effort and hard work of Republicans, Democrats, and independents in crafting this legislation, and I'm really sorry to see this result.
Member from Pollitt.
I supported this bill and voted for it in committee. This is not the same bill that I voted for, and I cannot support it today.
Member from Weston.
May I explain my vote?
You may.
We've had many discussions about the cost of energy in this body. The Clean Heat Standard and the Renewable Energy Standard are reviled for their perceived potential impact on prices. Here we had an opportunity to protect Vermont ratepayers from electricity price increases, and we have failed. The hypocrisy will not be lost on Vermonters.
Member from Guilford.
May I explain my vote?
You may.
Madam Speaker, I represent Vernon, a town in southern Vermont that will likely forever be forced to address potentially crippling issues around energy and environment. I, for one, welcome the protections offered by H 727.
Member from Burlington.
Madam Speaker, may I explain my vote?
You may.
Madam Speaker, Vermonters have made clear to us that data centers are not part of an acceptable economic development strategy. We need a governor with a new vision for our future.
Member from Castleton.
Madam Speaker, may I explain my vote?
You may.
Contrary to what some members have heard, I have not heard any concerns from constituents about data centers. Instead of focusing on a problem that is never coming, we should focus all of our efforts on a problem Vermonters do face: sky-high energy costs they can no longer afford.
Member from Dover.
Madam Speaker, may I explain my vote?
You may.
Madam Speaker, Vermont's electric rates are being impacted by data centers in other parts of the country and in New England. We had an opportunity here today to put downward pressure.
Members, please listen to the results of your vote. There were 135 members present for the vote. 2/3 of that number is 90. Those voting yes, 83. Those voting no, 52. 2/3 of the members present not having voted in favor of passage of the bill. The governor's veto has been sustained. Members, at this time, we will be taking a recess. We will be coming back at 2:30. Please keep 3:30. Please keep an eye on your email for bills coming back from the Senate. With that, the House will stand in recess to the fall of the gavel at 3:30.